You know that feeling when someone asks how you're doing and you say, fine, but your chest feels heavy? When you're going through the motions of your life, but half your mind is somewhere else with someone else in conversations that ended months ago. That's not just missing someone. That's psychological attachment, and it's running your life in ways you probably don't even realize. When you can't let go of someone, you think the problem is about them. You think it's because they were special, because what you had was unique, because you'll never find that connection again. But that's not what's really happening. The real issue is much deeper and more personal than you think. You've become attached to who you were when you were with them. You miss the version of yourself that felt chosen, wanted, important. You're not just grieving their absence, you're mourning the loss of feeling complete, worthy enough. And that's a very different problem with a very different solution. When you can't let someone go, it's because they became your main source of feeling good about yourself. Their love was your proof that you mattered. Their attention was your evidence that you were worth something. Their presence was what made you feel like you were enough. This is why letting go feels impossible. You're not just releasing a person. You're being asked to feel worthy without their validation. You're being told to feel complete without their approval. You're expected to know your value without them confirming it, and if you've never learned how to do that, of course it feels terrifying. Think about how you feel about yourself when they're not responding to your messages versus when they are. Notice how your mood shifts based on whether they seem interested or distant. Pay attention to how much of your self-worth depends on their behavior toward you. This isn't love. This is dependency dressed up as caring. Real love doesn't make you feel desperate when it's absent. Real love doesn't require someone to behave a certain way for you to feel okay about yourself. Real love doesn't turn you into someone who checks their phone obsessively or analyzes every interaction for hidden meanings. What you're experiencing is what happens when you mistake someone's attention for your own value, when you confuse their presence with your completeness, when you make their love responsible for your sense of self. And the painful truth is that this kind of attachment actually kills real love. When you need someone to make you feel worthy, you can't love them for who they are. You can only love them for what they do for your ego. When you can't let someone go, it's because you've turned them into a drug that temporarily fixes your feelings about yourself. This creates a cycle that's impossible to break from the outside. The more you need them, the more desperate you become. The more desperate you become, the less attractive you are to them. The less attractive you are, the more they pull away. The more they pull away, the more you need them to prove you're still worthy, and round it goes. But you were complete before they showed up, and you're still complete now that they're gone. You just forgot how to access that completeness without external validation. You learned to outsource your sense of worth to other people's responses to you, and now you think you need their approval to feel good about yourself. The person you can't let go of isn't special because they're irreplaceable. They feel irreplaceable because you made them responsible for your self-worth. You gave them a job that was never theirs to do. The job of making you feel valuable, important, enough. This is why nothing else feels as good as their attention did. This is why other people seem boring in comparison. This is why you keep going back to them in your mind, even when you know it hurts. You're not addicted to them. You're addicted to the feeling of being chosen by them, because that feeling temporarily convinced you that you were worth something. The solution isn't finding someone new to validate you or figuring out how to get them back. The solution is learning to generate your own sense of worth from the inside out. It's discovering that your value doesn't depend on anyone's opinion of you, including theirs. It's remembering that you're enough exactly as you are, whether anyone notices or not. But most people resist this solution because it requires taking responsibility for their own emotional well-being instead of making someone else responsible for it. It requires growing up emotionally instead of staying dependent. It requires becoming the source of your own validation instead of endlessly seeking it from others. And that work, the work of developing a solid sense of self that doesn't require external approval, is exactly what letting go actually means. Not forgetting them, not pretending you don't care, but becoming so secure in your own worth that you don't need anyone's love to feel complete. When you can love someone without needing them to love you back, when you can care about someone without requiring them to care about you, when you can appreciate what you shared without needing it to continue, that's when you've truly let go. That's when you're free to love without attachment, to care without control, to connect without losing yourself. This is the real work ahead of you. Not figuring out how to forget them, but figuring out how to remember who you are without them. Not learning to stop caring, but learning to care without needing. Not building walls around your heart, but building such a solid foundation within yourself that you don't need anyone else to hold you up. The person you can't let go of has given you an unexpected gift. They've shown you exactly where your sense of self is still dependent on external validation. They've revealed the places where you still need others to make you feel worthy. They've exposed the parts of you that still believe love is something you earn rather than something you are. This awareness is the beginning of your freedom, because once you see how you've been giving your power away, you can start taking it back. Once you understand how you've been making others responsible for your worth, you can start taking responsibility for it yourself. Once you recognize that you've been looking for yourself in other people's eyes, you can start learning to see yourself clearly from the inside out. Understanding that your attachment is really about emotional dependency opens up a more disturbing reality. This pattern isn't contained to just this one relationship. It's quietly reshaping how you approach every connection in your life, and the cost extends far beyond the obvious pain of missing someone. Every day you remain emotionally dependent on someone who isn't available to you, you're reinforcing a neural pathway that says your worth requires external validation. You're training your nervous system to feel incomplete without someone else's approval, and this conditioning affects every relationship moving forward. Since this attachment formed, other relationships probably feel less satisfying. Nothing seems as intense or meaningful as what you had with them. But this isn't because they were uniquely special. It's because you've conditioned yourself to equate emotional intensity with love, making peace and stability feel boring in comparison. This creates a dangerous cycle. You become attracted to emotionally unavailable people because uncertainty triggers the attachment response that feels familiar. You start interpreting anxiety as excitement, inconsistency as passion, and the need to prove your worth as romance. Meanwhile, emotionally healthy people feel uninteresting because they don't activate your attachment system. This emotional unavailability isn't just hurting you, it's affecting everyone who cares about you. You're giving the best parts of your emotional energy to someone who isn't there, while people who are actually in your life get whatever's left over. You're establishing a pattern that will follow you into every future connection unless you address it now. You're learning to love from emptiness rather than fullness, which means you'll keep attracting people who also love from emptiness, or you'll overwhelm people who love from a healthy place. Every month you spend in this attached state, you're missing opportunities to develop genuine self-worth. You're avoiding the necessary work of learning to be complete within yourself. You're postponing the emotional maturity that would actually make you capable of the kind of love you think you want. The longer you stay in this pattern, the harder it becomes to break. Your brain physically changes based on repeated thoughts and behaviors. Every time you think about them, check their social media, or replay memories, you're strengthening the neural pathways that keep you stuck. You're not just reminiscing, you're rewiring your brain to be dependent on their validation. The strategies you've tried haven't worked because they don't address the root issue. Staying busy is just distraction. Dating other people while emotionally unavailable just spreads the pattern around. Trying to force yourself to stop caring is impossible when you haven't addressed why you need their caring so much in the first place. Time doesn't heal this wound because it's not really about them. It's about how you relate to yourself. You could wait 5 years, and if you haven't done the internal work of developing self-sourced validation, you'll still feel that pang of attachment when you think about them. Meanwhile, the person you can't let go of has moved forward. They're growing, changing, having new experiences. They're not carrying you in their mind the way you're carrying them. While you're stuck in a psychological loop, they're living in the present moment, available for whatever life brings them. Your attachment is keeping you from being available for the life that's actually in front of you. It's making you miss your own life while you're busy missing them. The cost isn't just continued pain. It's the cumulative effect on your self-esteem, your other relationships, your ability to be present, and your potential for real love in the future, you're at a crossroads. You can continue reinforcing this pattern, hoping time will magically heal what only conscious choice and internal work can heal. Or you can recognize that this attachment is actually showing you exactly where your sense of self still depends on external validation. The work of letting go isn't about them. It's about reclaiming your power to feel complete without external validation. It's about developing the emotional independence that makes real love possible. It's about becoming someone who loves from freedom rather than need. The longer you wait to make this choice, the more entrenched the pattern becomes. But your brain can learn new patterns just as easily as it learned the old ones. You can develop emotional independence just as thoroughly as you developed emotional dependency. The question is, are you ready to do that work? The solution to emotional dependency isn't what most people think it is. It's not about building walls around your heart or convincing yourself you don't care. It's not about finding someone new to fill the void or keeping yourself so busy that you don't have time to feel the pain. The real solution is learning to generate your own sense of worth from internal sources rather than external validation. It's developing what psychologists call self-sourced validation, the ability to feel complete, valuable, and worthy without needing anyone else to confirm it for you. This might sound abstract, but it's actually a very practical skill. Right now, your sense of worth operates like a phone that can only charge when it's plugged into someone else's approval. What we're talking about is developing an internal battery that can power itself, that doesn't need to be constantly connected to external sources to function. When you have self-sourced validation, you can appreciate someone's love without needing it to feel worthy. You can enjoy their presence without requiring it to feel complete. You can care about their opinion without making it responsible for your self-esteem. This is what allows you to love freely rather than desperately, to connect authentically rather than strategically. The process begins with understanding that your worth isn't actually determined by external factors. It never was. Your value as a person isn't contingent on being chosen by someone else, achieving certain goals, or meeting other people's expectations. These are all external measurements that you've learned to use as shortcuts for self-worth, but they're not the real thing. Real self-worth is recognizing that you have inherent value simply because you exist, not because of what you do, what you achieve, or how others respond to you, but because of the consciousness, creativity, and capacity for love that you naturally possess. This recognition usually feels uncomfortable at first because it requires taking responsibility for your own emotional well-being instead of making others responsible for it. It means acknowledging that you've been looking outside yourself for something that was always available internally. The practical work involves learning to notice when you're seeking external validation and consciously choosing to validate yourself instead. When you catch yourself checking their social media for evidence of how they're doing without you, you pause and ask yourself, what am I really looking for here? What do I need to give myself right now? This isn't positive thinking or self-affirmation. It's developing a genuine relationship with yourself based on honest appreciation for who you are, not who you think you need to become to be worthy of love. One of the most powerful shifts happens when you start treating yourself with the same care and attention you've been giving to your attachment. Instead of analyzing their every move, you start paying attention to your own emotional needs. Instead of trying to figure out what they're thinking, you start exploring what you actually want and need in relationships. You begin asking yourself questions like, what kind of person do I want to be in relationships? How do I want to show up when I care about someone? These questions shift your focus from trying to get love to learning how to give it, from seeking validation to developing authenticity. As you practice this internal validation, something remarkable happens. You become less needy in all your relationships. You stop approaching people from a place of, what can you do for my self-esteem? And start relating from a place of, what can I appreciate about you? This shift makes you infinitely more attractive to emotionally healthy people because you're no longer emanating desperation. You also become much better at recognizing genuine love when it's offered to you. When you're not desperately seeking validation, you can actually receive the care that's already present in your life. You notice the friends who consistently show up for you, the family members who genuinely support you, the small daily interactions that contain real warmth and connection. The person you've been unable to let go of starts to fade naturally from your emotional landscape, not because you've forced yourself to stop caring, but because you've developed other sources of emotional nourishment. You've remembered how to feed yourself emotionally instead of starving until someone else decides to feed you. This process doesn't happen overnight, but it also doesn't take as long as you might think. Your brain is remarkably adaptable, and once you start consistently practicing self-validation instead of seeking external validation, new neural pathways begin forming within weeks. The key is consistency rather than perfection. Every time you choose to appreciate yourself instead of seeking someone else's approval, every time you validate your own feelings instead of dismissing them until someone else validates them, every time you treat yourself with kindness instead of waiting for someone else to be kind to you, you're building emotional independence. This independence doesn't make you cold or distant. It makes you capable of genuine intimacy. When you're not desperately trying to get something from other people, you can actually give them something real. Your authentic presence, your unconditional care, your ability to love them for who they are rather than what they do for your ego. The beautiful paradox is that developing this emotional independence often brings you closer to the kind of love you were seeking through attachment. When you're not needy, you become magnetic to people who are also emotionally healthy. When you're not trying to complete yourself through someone else, you attract people who are also complete within themselves. But even more importantly, you discover that the love you were seeking outside yourself was always available internally. You realize that the feeling of being chosen, valued, and worthy isn't something someone else gives you. It's something you can give yourself, consistently and unconditionally. This is what genuine letting go looks like. Not forcing yourself to stop caring, but caring from such a place of internal fullness that you don't need anything in return. Not building walls around your heart, but developing such a solid foundation within yourself that you can love without losing yourself. The work of emotional independence is the most important relationship skill you can develop. It's what allows you to love without attachment, to care without control, to connect without codependency. It's what transforms you from someone who needs love to survive into someone who has love to give. And once you've developed this capacity, the question of letting go becomes irrelevant. You don't have to force yourself to release someone when you're not desperately clinging to them in the first place. You don't have to work at not needing someone when you've learned to meet your own emotional needs. This is the path forward, not away from love, but toward a more mature, sustainable, and fulfilling way of loving. Not toward isolation, but toward the kind of emotional freedom that makes real intimacy possible. I know what you're thinking right now. Part of you is resonating with this idea of emotional independence, but another part is resisting it. You might be wondering, if I stop needing their validation, does that mean I'll stop loving them? If I develop self-sourced worth, will I become cold and disconnected? What if learning to be complete within myself means I'll never experience that intense connection again? These concerns are natural, and they reveal something important about how we've been conditioned to think about love. We've learned to equate intensity with depth, need with care, and dependency with devotion. But these equations are exactly what keep us trapped in cycles of attachment and suffering. Let me be clear, developing emotional independence doesn't mean becoming indifferent. It means becoming capable of loving someone without making your well-being dependent on their response. It means caring about someone without needing to control their feelings toward you. It means appreciating connection without requiring it to feel complete. The kind of love that emerges from emotional independence is actually deeper and more sustainable than attachment-based love. When you're not desperately trying to get something from someone, you can actually see them clearly. When you're not using them to fix your sense of self, you can appreciate who they actually are rather than who you need them to be. Think about the people in your life who you love most freely. Perhaps a close friend, a family member, or even a pet. Notice how your love for them doesn't require them to behave in specific ways to validate your worth. You don't love your dog because it makes you feel valuable. You love it because you have love to give. You don't care about your friend because they complete you. You care about them because caring feels natural when you're emotionally stable. This is what mature love looks like. It's not the desperate, consuming attachment that our culture often romanticizes. It's the generous, stable affection that comes from having enough internal resources to give without needing to receive. When you develop this capacity, something remarkable happens. You become infinitely more attractive to emotionally healthy people. Desperation repels, but self-possession attracts. People who are also emotionally mature recognize and appreciate someone who can love without clinging, care without controlling, connect without losing themselves. You also become much better at recognizing when someone is genuinely available for healthy love versus when they're only interested in the validation you can provide. When you're not emanating need, you stop attracting people who are drawn to your neediness, and you start connecting with people who appreciate your wholeness. The neurological evidence supports this approach completely. Studies show that people with secure attachment styles, those who learned early that they were worthy of love without having to earn it, have healthier relationships, better emotional regulation, and higher life satisfaction. The good news is that attachment styles aren't fixed. You can develop security through conscious practice, regardless of how you learned to attach in childhood. Every time you choose self-validation over seeking external approval, you're literally rewiring your brain towards security. Every time you treat yourself with the kindness you've been hoping to receive from others, you're training your nervous system to expect and recognize healthy love. Emotional independence fundamentally alters your relationship with daily life. When you're not constantly monitoring external validation, your attention becomes available for actual experience. The beauty that was always present but overshadowed by your focus on getting someone's attention becomes visible again. Connections that felt insufficient while you craved one specific person's approval reveal their genuine value. Your relational patterns transform at their core. The energy shift from "please complete me" to "I appreciate you" changes how others respond to you. When you're not trying to extract something from people, they feel safer in your presence. When you're not performing for approval, your authentic self becomes accessible to them. When you stop needing them to be different than they are, they experience acceptance rather than pressure. The person you couldn't let go of becomes just one of many people you've loved throughout your life. Not forgotten, not dismissed, but integrated into your history without dominating your present. You might still care about them, but that care doesn't determine your daily emotional state. You might still hope good things for them, but their well-being isn't more important to you than your own. You discover that the intense longing you thought was love was actually a sign of emotional immaturity. Real love doesn't create suffering. It creates peace. Healthy connection doesn't make you anxious. It makes you feel grounded. Authentic care doesn't require you to lose yourself. It helps you find yourself more clearly. Most surprisingly, you often find that developing emotional independence brings you experiences of love that are far more satisfying than anything you had with the person you couldn't release. When you're capable of loving without attachment, you attract people who are also capable of that kind of mature love. When you don't need someone to complete you, you can enjoy the kind of relationship where two whole people choose to share their lives rather than two incomplete people trying to fix each other. Your creative energy returns because you're not spending all your mental resources trying to figure out how to get someone's attention. Your capacity for joy expands because you're not making your happiness conditional on external circumstances. Your sense of adventure grows because you're not afraid of experiences that might threaten your attachments. You become someone who can be genuinely happy for others' success without comparing it to your own, who can appreciate beauty without needing to possess it, who can love deeply without needing to control outcomes. You develop what spiritual traditions call non-attachment, the ability to engage fully with life while holding everything lightly. This transformation doesn't happen overnight, but it doesn't take as long as you might think. Most people start noticing significant shifts within weeks of consistently practicing self-validation instead of seeking external approval. Within months, they often find that the person they thought they couldn't live without barely crosses their mind anymore. The work is simple, but not easy. It requires consistently choosing to meet your own emotional needs instead of waiting for someone else to meet them. It requires treating yourself with the care and attention you've been hoping to receive from others. It requires appreciating your own qualities instead of dismissing them until someone else appreciates them first. But this work is also the most liberating thing you can do for yourself and everyone who cares about you. When you're emotionally independent, you're available for real love. When you're internally complete, you can offer authentic care. When you're self-validated, you can connect without agenda. The person you become through this process, someone who loves freely, cares without clinging, connects without losing themselves, is someone you'll actually enjoy being. Not just someone others will love, but someone you'll genuinely like spending time with, someone whose company you appreciate, whose thoughts you find interesting, whose life you want to participate in fully. This is what letting go actually creates, not the absence of love, but the capacity for a kind of love that doesn't hurt. Not isolation, but the emotional freedom that makes real intimacy possible. Not giving up on connection, but developing the internal strength that allows you to connect authentically. The choice is still yours. You can continue trying to get from others what you've never learned to give yourself, or you can begin the work of becoming emotionally self-sufficient. You can keep making your happiness dependent on external circumstances, or you can discover the peace that comes from internal validation. Your attachment to that one person has brought you to this crossroads. It's shown you exactly where you still need external approval to feel worthy, where you still make others responsible for your emotional well-being, where you still believe love means needing someone rather than simply appreciating them. This awareness is a gift. It's pointing you toward the work that will transform not just this relationship pain, but your capacity for all future relationships. It's inviting you to develop the emotional maturity that makes lasting love possible. The person you're meant to become, emotionally independent, internally complete, capable of loving without attachment, is already within you. The only question is whether you're ready to do the work of becoming them. Right now, in this moment, you have everything you need to begin this transformation. Not when you feel ready, not when the pain stops, not when you understand everything perfectly, but now. I want you to do something before you close this video. In the comments below, share what you discovered when you tried this. What were you seeking from them, and how did it feel to give it to yourself instead? Your experience might be exactly what someone else needs to hear to begin their own journey toward freedom. And if this video has shifted something in your understanding of love and attachment, share it with someone who's been struggling to let go of someone too. Sometimes the most powerful healing happens when we realize we're not alone in our patterns. You have everything you need within you. You always have. Thanks for watching.